Okay, so Michael Littlecrow looking at a problem from Math 170. This came, I believe, out of section 4.2. And the question is to come up with a positive angle less than 2 pi that is coterminal with this angle that's been given, negative 43 pi over 6 plus 2 pi. Well, we can see this one is already, the 2 pi means it's gone around the circle one time in the positive direction. This negative 43 pi over 6 means it's gone in the negative direction, which is counterclockwise. So the best way to kind of analyze this all together is to add these together first, to have one direction going for us, not having to go backwards and forwards. You could do it multiple ways, but let me just give some advice, and then we'll be able to count how many multiples of 2 pi is included in here. So hopefully you can see that this has a common denominator of 6. So what we need to do, this first one has a denominator of 6. We need to make the second term into something that has a denominator of 6. So we'll have to take 6 times 1 to make that happen. And whatever we do in the bottom, we have to do to the top because we want to multiply by a factor of 1. So this gives us the new problem of negative 43 pi over 6. 2 times 6 is 12 pi over 6. Now with the common denominator, we can combine these two terms. So negative 43 plus 12 is going to be a subtraction. When signs are opposite and we're combining them, we subtract. So 43 minus 12 gives us 31. 31 pi over 6. The larger term is negative, so this whole thing is negative. So this breaks down to thinking of, we've got a unit circle, and we're going to go this direction, the negative direction, 31 pi over 6 times. Okay, so what that means is every time we go around 2 pi, we're sort of back to the beginning on a circle. For an engineering problem, that becomes important because maybe you're winding up a spring and you're building up some resistance there. But otherwise, we think, oh, I went in a circle, I'm at the beginning. Every 2 pi, I'm back to the beginning. So the last, we're going to be able to represent this last one in terms of a negative radian measure that's less than 2 pi. So what I do is take a look at this 31 pi divided by 6. So how many times does 6 go into 31 evenly? Well, 30 divided by 6 is equal to 5. So I can think of this as 5 pi, negative 5 pi, complete times around, with an extra minus 1 pi over 6. Well, if this 5 pi were an even number, that'd be easy. I just divide it by 2, and that's how many times I've gone around the circle. But I look at this, 5 is not even, it's odd. So what that means is I think of the largest whole number, or largest even number that would go into this, which would be 4 pi, so negative 4 pi. That's going to take us how many times around the circle? 2 pi, 4 pi. So it takes us around the circle twice. I could have gotten that by dividing by 2 pi. And so that gives me the number negative 2. 2, that's the multiples. So often the questions, they ask you how many multiples of 2 pi. And I think we could get by without the negative sign here. Negative sign, remember, is giving us direction, but 2 multiples of 2 pi. So that's that one. So what does that mean? Well, we still have 1 pi left over and negative 1/6. So what we've done is we've gone around 2 times, and then we'll get rid of this. So we've gone around the 2 times, 2 multiples. Of 2 pi. And then what do? We go 1 pi and 1/6. Or if you want, getting a common denominator again, that's going to be negative 7 pi over 6. 6 in the top, 6 in the bottom, so that's the way you do it. But leaving this as a minus 1 pi, well, what does that tell us? It means we go all the way to here. There's minus pi. And then we go 1/6 more pi. And again, we're in the negative direction. I'm going to get a little sloppy and not worry too much about signs, but I'll put that on there. So now, how would we measure this angle if we come directly here? Well, that would be 6 pi over 6, right? 1 pi, if I go all the way, but it's 1 less. What is that? That's going to be 5 pi over 6. Okay, so halfway around the circle, is equal to pi, which is also equal to 6 pi over 6. We back off, subtract the 1 pi over 6, and that takes us to 5 pi over 6. Okay, so that's how that one's done. I'll maybe take a look at another one, but that's the way we count the multiples of pi. Get it down to one number, divide out the fraction. In this case, it was what we had was 31 out of 6. Figure out how many 2 pi's are in there. In this case, a total of 4 pi. We're looking for the largest even number that is represented here, which would be 4 pi. That's 4 pi divided by 2 pi gives us 2 multiples. Had it been 8 pi divided by 2 pi would have been 4 multiples. Okay, and then whatever's left over, that's what we have to travel starting at 0, and that's sort of the last leg of the journey. And if we draw it out this way, it helps us to figure out what the positive angle measurement is going to be. Hopefully this was helpful. Keep sending over those questions. Thanks.